Land acknowledgements are often presented in shared spaces where we gather in person. But on a podcast, we recognize that each one of us occupies space on Indigenous land. We call on you, our listeners, to acknowledge that Indigenous people are the original inhabitants and caretakers of this land and have distinctive and sovereign rights and responsibilities that are directly connected to the land, community, culture, and knowledge.
With this in mind, please take the time to find out what territory you are on at native-land.ca and support our other amazing Indigenous firecrackers like Steph Tisdall. Steph is an Aboriginal comedian living in Australia, the winner of Deadly Funny, and also seen on The Project and the Melbourne International Comedy Festival Gala. Hi, everybody. I'm Naomi Sneakus.
And I'm Amanda Brugel.
It has to be the same every time. And this is the Blaze Sessions. Okay, Brugel, how you doing?
I feel like we're in the same boat. Listen, it's Tuesday. You got
our guest laughing there. You got a guest.
I know.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's Tuesday.
I'm okay.
Lies.
I usually, no, I'm not. It's just stressful stuff with, without getting into specifics, just work and just big grown-up problems, which are great because big grown-up problems means, you're learning and pushing and.
Oh, yeah, man. Yes. But then there's some big grown-up problems like taxes or like things that are like, I don't want to have to learn this.
Tax evasion. That's what.
Tax evasion. Is that what you're working on today?
Yeah. That's why I'm wearing a suit. I'm a suit. Got my tax suit on.
I have to ask you. I mean, I want to hear more about this, but obviously there's so much going on. But did you watch the Oscars?
Did I watch the Oscars?
No.
Can I tell you this? We have to let our guests in soon, but can I talk to you about? I loved them so much this year because I felt like for the first time we were able to champion human beings and their stories before actors. I feel like actors, we all do this. We have such a facade that we have created in a way that keeps some sort of anonymity for us and a mystery about us. But I feel like what that does is it keeps an audience from rooting for you truly, like rooting for your humanity. When people go up and they're all shiny and they're perfect, there's such a disconnect. But going up and seeing Kiwi and Brendan Fraser, just like, there was just such a vulnerability and an honesty and a messiness to them that I felt like the Oscars were knocked down a couple pegs and I was able to access them more. I was able to champion around them instead of watching the elite celebrate one another.
And it totally does. It does also feel like there was a shift in the Oscars, maybe in all award ceremonies, where people suddenly went, oh, this is a rare opportunity to have a podium. I better use it to speak my heart, speak my mind. Because there was a time, I remember Oscar speeches be boring. Like people would come through and just thank agents, which are obviously worthwhile to be thanked. But this is an opportunity. Thank people privately. This is a chance for you actually to speak your thoughts.
And be honest that you're truly touched about the honor instead of some sort of faux humility of I felt like everyone was truly celebrating one another, whether that was real. It was a nice change of pace.
Can I ask you also, because I'm watching over Sarah Polley, who I don't know anybody who doesn't like Sarah Polley. If they do,
I hate her. I hate her.
Oh, is it you? You're the one. You're the one person.
I love her.
But I love one of the things I love about her. I mean, of course, the intelligence and the approach to her craft, but her approach to social media right now. I really love, she's got this real honest way of going look, I'm at the Oscars, this is nuts, but also letting people into her journey so that we're sort of part of it. I felt really included in her excitement for it. And I have to say, you also approach your social media in a really honest way. Is that purposeful? Do you go, okay, this is how I'm going to go through my Instagram? Because I see you writing, I see you as a writer on your Instagram, not just as a obligatory set life. I don't want to see. I don't need to see any obligatory stuff.
I don't want to see that again.
What's your approach to your social media?
I feel like I try to be as authentic as possible. It's still a character. It's still highly curated. It's social media. But I feel like I tried to I try to be as honest as I can without, you know, talking about my tax evasion or talking about my children too much. So that's quite purposeful. You're right. Thank
Hmm.
you for noticing. It's quite purposeful to just come across as just an honest person, because I do realize there are people that relate to me or connect to me that it's to that honesty. And I'd like to honor that and not, if people support you and they support your work, you want to honor them as
Hmm.
well. So that's why I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah Pollock
Do you
said
know,
something that reminded me of you. She said, like, I know this is all like, I'm paraphrasing, but hoopla and glitz and glam,
yeah,
but next week I'm going to be doing like school pickup. And
totally.
so, and I see that you're
Yeah.
balanced too with that.
Thank you. Well, I think that's why the Oscars, I said, resonated with me, because if you can't, I just don't think people are post-pandemic. I don't think we're allowed anymore to not tell the truth as much. We had such a global sharing of pain and trauma and
Hmm.
honesty. It was one of the only times where you could say to someone, "How are you doing?" And the response back wasn't the obligatory, "I'm fine." It was
Yeah.
like, "I'm dying."
Yeah.
I like to be, I'd like to have one toe into "I'm fine," but also another toe into "I'm kind of dying and I'm hurting," and just to be a little
But
more
isn't that
honest.
like every day, I'm like, I have nothing to complain about. Like, look at my life. I live in Canada. I have like
Hmm.
great things and I have great people. I have enough. But,
Hmm.
and it's not a but, it's an and. There's also challenges. But everybody's got
Yes,
challenges. So it's not like I'm saying anything that's new
that's true.
or
That's
special,
true.
like we're all having that.
Yeah,
And that's the relatable stuff too.
it is. It is. Speaking of relatable,
Speaking of, come on, that was the segue. I set you up. High five across the Zoom. All right, go for it,
heyo.
Amanda. I mean, you're obviously very excited, but before we get into it, let's just hear a word from our sponsors. How about that? I don't know about you, but I love movies. I love all kinds of movies, all kinds of genres, all kinds of styles. What I don't love is actually making a choice. I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's so much. There's so much to choose from. Well, Real Women's Network has helped make that easier. Real Women's Network is a brand new streaming service that focuses exclusively on content created by women and women identified filmmakers. Real Women's Network celebrates the unique and diversified female voices from all over the world, including Canada. They've got documentaries, they've got feature films, short films, web series in a variety of genres. I mean, really, they've got something for everybody. You can get a monthly subscription or rent content without a subscription. Thank you. That makes things easier. You can also find them on their branded apps on Apple and Android. So all the information that you're going to want is available at realwomensnetwork.com. That's REEL womensnetwork.com. Thank you so much, Real Women's Network. You're helping me make some decisions. And you're welcome, film watchers. And now back to the show. All right, go for it, Anna Brugel. Talk about our
I'm
guest.
so
I'm so jazzed
excited
about this. And
for
also, can I
our
tell
guest.
you that we've had these chats with, I don't know how many people right now. I think it's 5, but almost every single person has called this guest out as somebody that they admire.
Everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, they have name dropped
right?
this
They've like
guest.
name dropped this almost every episode that we've done so far. So,
Are you ready? Are you ready to
yeah,
hear
I'm
about?
so ready. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this person has starred in dozens of massive Hollywood films like The Good Son and What Lies Beneath and Air Force One, which I loved. It's where I fell in love with this person. Bicentennial Man and Room and the Santa Claus trilogies, which grossed, by the way, $283 million worldwide.
Really? I thought it
Worldwide.
was 282, but that sounds all right.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, 3. They are a series regular on TV shows like 24 and Good Sam and Frankie Drake and Saving Hope and Pretty Hard Cases. On top of receiving countless awards like the illustrious Earl Grey Award, she was inducted into Canada's Walk of Fame in
Mm-hmm.
2015. She's also a massive advocate. She's a huge supporter of Canada's cultural industries and heavily involved with our union, ACTRA. It's where I first met her, often fighting quite publicly, and we're going to talk about that, for performers' rights. She's a spokesperson on behalf of the ALS Society of Alberta and won the Gemini Humanitarian Award in 2002 for her work on behalf of ALS patients. She is stunning
So
and
stunning.
kind and
So
commanding and
sweet.
a light bearer. She lights up
Uh,
every room she walks into. Ladies and gentlemen, the Wendy Crewson.
All the people. It's the Wendy Crewson. Oh, you can't believe it. When you hear that bio, don't you go like,
You're
oh my
like,
gosh.
oh my gosh, why aren't I happier?
I mean, welcome to the world of struggle, right? You think you get to the top of the hill and you're like, I got to the top of the hill.
No, irrelevant.
Oh
That's the
gosh.
new, like falling off the cliff on the other side.
Yeah.
I
do.
No,
It is the truth though, Wendy. Like when
Fine.
we've been talking to other people, everybody's talked about like, watching you and how what a trailblazer you've been in so many different ways.
Oh.
Do you recognize that? Do you feel that in your bones that you're like, oh man, I have a lot of people looking up to me? No pressure.
No, and I can't say that I do feel like that I have a lot of people, but I feel very involved with the industry.
Yeah.
I feel very, like I care about what goes on. I certainly feel that. But it's always, so it's sort of funny to hear it because I think also in the past while, because we've all been sort of, in our corners doing our best to get by and survive and work and keep the family afloat and, do all that, that you lose track of that outside stuff. So when you hear it again, you go, oh yeah, in the before times, right? Yeah.
The before times.
That was fun. Yeah.
And so these chats are like, I mean, I think they're fantastic on so many different levels, but selfishly, I just think you're the best. Like any chance I get to hang out with you, whether it's at a party or when we saw each other on set.
True.
On set.
Like, come on. Just, and the things I love,
on
like,
set.
I was so freaked out that day. I hadn't been on set for so long. And I was like, I had like a big monologue right off the top. And you're like, yeah, me too. And as soon as you said that, I'm like, well, if Wendy Crewson also has nerves, then I'm not as like shiny and special in my nerves.
I remember that very clearly, seeing you, because I walked in and you went, oh my God, you look like a movie star. And I thought, oh God, I feel better. Okay, here I go. I can do this monologue. But it's true. We're all in exactly the same. This is what we always, need to remember. Why it's so great to see everybody on set, because you go, right. This is why I do it. This is exactly why I do it, because I like working with actors. So I like being on a set in a green room, all of us sharing our experience of what is going on. That's where I feel alive. That's the best time.
Oh my God.
So then you kind of can, you go through all the nerves and the prep and new set always, you're always like nervous, but you get there and everybody else is in exactly the same boat and really want you to do well. Everybody's like rooting for each other, so that's always like, that's where I'm most alive.
I wanted to mention before we get started also, I mean, we've already started that. So just I wanted to, I'm here. She's here. I wanted to congratulate you on your best supporting performer drama nod.
Hey, thank you. And yours.
Thank you.
Well,
oh well,
sort of.
It's okay.
Do you still,
I get other awards.
Sort of.
Everybody.
It's for sort of. Yeah. No. Exactly.
Do you still get? I mean, after being inducted into the Walk of Fame, which is bonkers, do you still get excited for this kind of stuff, or happy?
Unnaturally excited. Like really, it's pathetic.
What do you mean? Like, what do you do? What's the process
just,
when you have to celebrate?
That morning, and or whenever it was, and my agent's like texting me, oh my God, you got a nomination. Because you can be alone, as we talked about, in your own head and world and everything, and be sort of like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? All these fabulous young people out there, and everybody's got so much energy, and there's and I'm like dragging my ass on set, like hour 16. Like I can't even remember a line. Put me in my trailer. But something like that happens, and you feel like suddenly so part of it again, and thrilled and grateful and happy, and I don't know. I get very excited about it. Very excited. And
Thank you for being honest.
Up. I'm going to put on a sparkly gown, and I'm going to put on my high heels, even though I can't shove. I'm like Drizella and Cinderella, shoving my foot into that heel. I'm going to go and have a great time and see everybody. I can't wait.
I mean, you keep bringing it back, though. You keep bringing about the collaboration in the community. Like, you two are unlike me, where I'm not crazy. I like it when somebody goes, here's the dress, here's the thing. But if I'm like it makes me stressed. I never feel comfortable unless there's pockets and a stretchy waist. But I know yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, apropos, because I know that Amanda is a fashionista.
Yes.
And I remember before, even when we did Style Box.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yes, you're right, Wendy.
Yeah, girl, you were like, I thought, oh my God, this girl who's like so beautiful, has her fashion act together. I just always so fashion forward in what you wear. And I just love that. And that was like way back when I started thinking, oh, we're a Canadian designer, get out there, you know, look glamorous. I remember the first award show I went to, and there were like people in like salt stained boots and just, you know,
was me.
Kind of.
Yeah. And it was last year.
Wendy, it was last year. And Wendy, I thought, oh, dress up.
I love it. No, I love it. I think it's purposeful. Like when Amanda, you do it, you're like, I'm going to Canadian designer. I'm going to actually think about what I'm doing.
I'm thinking about, I'm presenting. It's a chance to, you know.
Do you know what? I'm having a small stroke right now. I'm just realizing that part of it, that I think of you, Wendy, and I'm just realizing it was you who said this to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, that I think of you every time I love fashion, but every time I go out and I go to an awards, I think it was you told me the first award show that you came back, because after you came back from the States, and we'll get into that, you were coming down a set of escalators and you had this beautiful dress on, and you saw everyone in like either cowboy boots, and it was crazy, and then you wanted to turn around and go back up, but you were like, no, we are here to celebrate ourselves. There's a certain way in which we should conduct ourselves. Let's, you know, we don't have to be too pretentious, but let's all dress up and actually have reverence for what we're doing. Exactly. And not be apologetic about it. Was it you?
That was me.
I knew it
that was me.
I think about
me. And because I went with my daughter, and we both, like, I had on this huge orange, fire orange taffeta skirt and this thing with a bit of faux fur, and she was in this, and we were coming down the escalators at the convention center, and looked down, and everybody was sort of in dark clothes and winter coats, kind of looking around, and my daughter just like, I'm like, no, we're going down there. We are going to shine our light. We are going to look colorful and celebratory, and it, you know, it's something, there is something about it. If we can't celebrate ourselves, if we don't take ourselves seriously in this country, if you don't put yourself out there, nobody else is gonna. We don't have a star. We're not interested in making a star system. So everything we can do to celebrate this industry, everything we can do, and then look what starts to happen. There's a momentum that begins to happen, and it's not because of what you wear, but it's one of the factors of making sure that when we celebrate ourselves, A, you look great, and B, you say something important when you're up there.
We were just talking
and that's what you do.
Yeah.
And that's how you build an industry. But you know,
and it's all
if
on
you're
your own
always going,
terms,
oh, it doesn't matter.
It has to, like, on your own terms, right? Like, I think, you know, when I think of, you know, like, I know I do like the dress up, but I have to do it on my own terms. Like last year, 2 years in a row, I did like a one dress through TIFF. I got a designer to design me a dress, and I wore it for every event. Because that's how my brain needs to work. You know, Amanda's going to go and get like, she's going to have 3 changes in one evening probably, because she's got 3 different events. And I'm not kidding. She's got like,
I know. I've seen her every time I see Amanda. What's she wearing? What's she wearing? Oh, look at that.
But to make it your own, like, I think it's important, like, to do the thing, as opposed to what you're saying, like, no, not opposed to it, but like to try to do something that other people are doing, you know, be yourself within what we're trying to do.
Within what we're trying to do. Exactly. The celebration has to be there. And you know, I think we're all trying to, you know, elevate the industry. And that's, you know, that was one of the fun things about it, you know, was the dressing up.
I have a question for you, because I don't know, these are things I don't know about you. I know that you went to school. Did you start in Winnipeg and then went to Montreal for school?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was in Point Claire, Missy.
I that's what I thought. That's why I was bringing
What's
it
Point
up.
Claire?
I love it. It's where I was born.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was the birthplace of Amanda Brugel.
Do you know why I'm asking this too? Because I also am realizing the connections that we have, because weren't you supposed to go into school for English? And then you decided to switch and go into theater? Because I did the same thing. Yeah, we did the same thing.
Exactly.
So what made you switch? Why?
English was too hard.
I don't believe you. You're so eloquent. I just don't believe you.
English was, I was like, oh my God, Chaucer's tale. I wouldn't go, anyway, what could I do that's like easier, more fun, and I get higher marks? Drama. And
Are you
it
serious?
Yeah, serious. But I was truthfully spending all my time in the theater department. Like that was where I spent all my time. So I thought, hey, why not, just continue this. But I had always thought that I was going to be an actress. Like I thought this, I had truly one of the only epiphanies of my life when I was like 4 years old, standing on a stage in a United Church basement with my mom helping the ladies for the potluck dinner. And I was standing up there and the sun was streaming in kind of late afternoon. And it was this whole, and I got up on that stage and I thought, this is where I want to be. I want to be up here. And ever since then, as soon as anybody asked me what I was going to do, I was going to be an actress, even though I had no idea even what that meant or what it. But then I started, I was the Virgin Mary in every single, Christmas play. I was really gunning for those parts. So I knew then. And I just, somehow managed to stay on the course of it through everything. But English was like the fallback, like, well, in case it didn't work out, I could be a teacher or something, like that. But that quickly fell away.
But did you ever waver? Like, I feel like in everybody's career, there's always like a time where you're like, okay, it's too hard, or it's like, it's challenging me too much. And then it's like, but I don't know what else I can do anyway.
I can do nothing else. Well, now it's way too late. There is no going back on there's no skill set that I could exploit that I have. No, if it doesn't work out now, oh well.
I think it's working out. I think it's
fine.
Be okay.
It's fine for now. But I never wavered. Never, ever wavered. Just kept doing plays and kept going, and went to England, went to theater school, worked in England, came back, thought I was going to go back to England, got a series here, and then that was it. I did waver on the stage. I did think I was going to do stage stuff all the time. And then I fell into television and film, and then that was it. So, but no, never wavered. Kept going.
What brought you to America for so long? Like what led you down there? Did you go for like a pilot season situation, or was that Hollywood a dream?
Yeah, it was. I sort of felt like I'd done a series here called Home Fires for CBC. And they were going on to do a fabulous movie about Kathy Chadwick, who is a sort of fraudster in the 1920s, Canadian in America. And I wanted to do it so badly. And our producer from Home Fires was doing it. And I came up and I said, oh, Bob, I just want to be in that movie. He said, what would you play? I said, I would play the lead girl, as I had just been the lead in this series. And, oh, Wendy, you've had your turn. And that made me so mad. I thought I'd had my turn. So then people said, well, what are you doing next? And I said, I'm moving to the States. So then I had to go, because now I've been saying this in interviews. Oh my God, I had to pack up my apartment on Logan Avenue, drive my boyfriend, Peter McNeil, who's getting the Earl Grey Award.
Amazing.
He was my boyfriend at the time, and he drove the truck down to Brooklyn for me, or to Queens for me, and unpacked my stuff into this house. And I was miserable and lonely for a year, but then it was fine. So, but I went because I was mad that there weren't more opportunities, and that's how they felt about you, that you had your turn.
Yes.
I mean, I don't feel like that's overly changed. I feel like Canada still has that idea.
Exactly. That until you prove yourself somehow in an American show, that Americans hire you and love you and celebrate you. So always it's still, Amanda, don't you feel that it sort of,
I feel that it's the thing that is so frustrating, and it's the thing that I haven't wavered in a long time. But when you met me doing the style box, I quit. I had quit for 4 years. That's why I had quit in That's all I
Wow.
did for a job.
Wow.
I had to leave because I was so brokenhearted, especially at the time. I think a lot of things have changed, but at the time, being a woman of color, and I wasn't
Yeah.
dark enough, I wasn't light enough, my hair was different texture, and so where do we put me? And it was just so frustrating to, the ceiling is so low here,
Yeah.
and it's still like that to a certain extent. And it's also frustrating now to see people who are doing excellent work and amazing work, and it's not until they go to the States that we're claimed, and celebrated and regarded, and it's frustrating.
It's frustrating. Just to speak to that for a second, because that was another sort of aha moment I had doing ACTRA work, was talking about, we were always funding Canadian content. You had to do Canadian stuff. It was really important that they support Canadian television. And we're sitting in a meeting some years ago, and one of our diverse counselors said, you know, like the Canadian content's all like great and everything, but I don't get any work in Canadian content. I get my work in American shows that shoot here. And it just suddenly, like, of course, there was at the time zero diversity. I mean, when you're doing period pieces,
yes,
how many jobs are there? So I think at that point, our focus in ACTRA started to shift to not just supporting Canadian content, but diversity. Diversity is our strength became our new motto. And the whole push was in sort of making sure our diverse members were front and center, and making sure that in order to have work for all actors in Canada, we made a friendly environment for US productions. So that was the beginning of, I've told this story a million times, I won't bore you with the whole length of it because it's ancient history now, but we were going to lose our industry.
Right.
Our industry White's was closing. Pinewood went bankrupt.
Yes.
There was everybody was leaving. All production was in Vancouver, and we formed FilmOntario, which is, as you know, a coalition of unions and guilds and production companies and post companies and equipment companies that all came together under the incredible political acumen of Brian Topp and Sarah Kerr-Hornell, and Brian was the executive director of ACTRA at the time. And they said, in order to create a strong film industry in this country, we must have one thing and we must speak as one voice. So instead of every group going to the government going, well, we want this, and it's a bunch of noise and they can't do anything for anybody, we coalesced and said, we need stable tax credits. That's all we need. We need one thing: stable tax credits that don't fluctuate with every administration and every new party that comes in. We need, and to their credit, it was the Conservatives that first put them in.
But
So we got those. We got everybody on the same page. We lobbied Queen's Park for stable tax credits, and it came to be. And once we had stable tax credits, we were able to do things like the union supported a venture backed fund that was able to help bail out Pinewood. So it helped create Pinewood. So we put our money into a venture backed capital fund from the union that helped Pinewood build, because we needed purpose built studios.
Right.
Yes.
So then as soon as those key blocks started falling into place, we suddenly had this fertile ground for film and television. And now we have a $2.2 billion industry in this province. We employ 45,000 full-time jobs for crew members and actors and everybody else.
Isn't it
so
the
that
second
was
most,
the beginning of it?
Isn't it the second most lucrative industry in Ontario for us, our entertainment industry?
It could well be. I'm not sure about that.
I think it is.
It could well be. We are known for it now. It has become, and when you start supporting a cultural sector like this, every other boat floats higher. So like any restaurant, cab companies, hotels, the peripheral spend on these kinds of things is enormous. And everybody, the whole place begins to, it contributes to the image of who we are in the world. That we have this big film industry, that we have a film festival, that we have, that all these things sort of coalesce to make us a very desirable location. And we did that.
That is amazing.
We created out of thin air,
yeah,
just spun this golden industry. And we can never forget that. We are so powerful when we unite.
Yeah.
And, you know, these were lessons that we learned. And now, you know, but then we came to the, now how else do we, you know, we promote our diverse performers. Yeah. We train our crew, we, you know, all the other things that come with us, but it makes us then a film center in the world.
If you think about this, you're talking about it as like, think about Hollywood and how long it's been around and how old it is. You're talking about this as if it's sort of the just, we're still in our stages of infancy. Like, it's just, this industry that was created in Ontario.
Just started.
This wasn't 75 years ago. Yeah.
This was 20 years ago. You know, this was, it just started. And so, you know, but all these things now that are happening just propel us further and further ahead. And you look at Sarah winning her Oscar.
Yes.
Who becomes who always has been, I have to say, has been such a huge advocate for the Canadian, such an activist in what she's done. And
but you too, Wendy, like, I look at the work that you've done as an activist, and I think, like, you know, your career, how long have you been working with ACTRA this passionately? Like 20 years?
Yeah, like 20, about
like, your career was busy enough. You know, not to need this other chapter, this other job description where you're actually being an activist for the film community in Canada. Do you remember a turning point? Do you remember when you said to yourself, like, I have to actually put my money where my mouth is and actually get involved? Because you could have just carried on.
Yeah, you can. But at the time when I moved back here I was in San Francisco, and it was a hard time for the family, and we moved back here, and so I had 2 kids in school, and, you know, I wanted to work and live in the same place. I didn't want to always be on a plane going somewhere, and that's God, leaving the kids. I mean, you know what this
Amanda's
is, you know, those white hot years when you are just like burning it at both ends, and you always feel like everything is suffering a little bit. Kids are suffering a bit, work is suffering a bit, the family, you know, you're just like trying to keep all those balls in the air. And I moved back here with a very specific plan that I was going to make my life happen in one place. I was going to work. I was going to be with the kids. I was going to see my mom and dad. I was going to, you know, and part of that became give back to the community. Like, what's the piece of it that's, you know, supporting my industry and my community? And I was asked to go to Ottawa because they had just lifted regulations on Canadian content in primetime hours. So we went from having 12 one-hour series in Toronto to having zero.
I know.
Everybody put all their Canadian content into daytime shows, cooking and gardening and all that was all their Canadian content, and it was all American stuff. And that was the beginning of it. It was a sort of, I mean, I came back thinking, oh yeah, you can work in Toronto, but you couldn't. There was no work, and there was nothing. And so it was self-serving in a certain way. I wanted to make sure that I could make this move right for my family, and but it was also, I thought, how can that be? Because we did such great stuff. I thought, you know, but there was a real time when film and television wasn't important here, where it became less and less and less important. Cut to then White's leaving and Pinewood going bang. You know, I mean, it had lost its importance. The forces outside the industry had decided that it wasn't going to be an economic driver in this province.
Right.
Yeah.
And we had to turn that around.
What do you think was the turning point, like show or project that made people go, oh no, we actually have a fantastic film community here?
I don't know if there was one in particular. I'm trying to think of where it would have. That's a good question. I remember
the lift, at least for me coming up, because when I've been doing it for 25 years now, there started to be, because there was the corner gas and everything, but there started to be a lift with, and I'm I'm talking like Little Mosque, and then it was Baroness, Schitt's, Kim's.
Right.
There was
Yes.
a couple, like
Yes.
it started to be, and then Working Moms, it started to be something where we didn't just have the one calling card.
Right.
Exactly.
And so it started
That's
to be,
absolutely right. There started to be
it
more and
felt
more of those. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And there
a
was
little bit
something of a
more.
shift too of like embracing Canada as opposed to trying to emulate America too. Like with having a show like Corner Gas or Little Mosque, they weren't trying, it wasn't Little Mosque on the American prairies. It was our prairies. So I think there was also a shift in that, and also embracing, I don't know, this might be nuts, but it feels like technically things shifted too. Like it feels like the sound and the lights suddenly got better, like the quality of what I was watching got better, because there was a while to be like,
there was a time when it was like, oh my God, it's so Canadian looking, you know.
Some guys got a flashlight here and the microphone underneath, like, but no, things shifted. It was like, oh no, they got
you see him holding the dolly and the boom.
And then preparing craft services with their feet. Like it was just, I don't know.
Oh my God.
Professionalism too.
Well, I think also that what began to happen too was the idea that as we began to attract more production to the province, it's like a forest. You know, you gotta feed the undergrowth. You've got to let people we're not hobbyists. Everybody has to make a living.
Yeah.
So you allow crew and cast and producers and writers and everybody to sort of at least make a living, at least stay in the industry. So that helped. And then out of that comes creative stuff where people actually, like, there's an opportunity to be creative because you're not just scrambling for your life.
Yes.
You know, you can actually think about, well, oh yeah, now I can also be authentic. What about that? There's an authentic voice that we can, you know, and that became also a desirable product, authenticity. So the brand Canada becomes very sort of appealing, you know, in that, because we're not just looking for big budget sort of procedural dramas coming out of that come out of the US. The whole global market began to shift into a smaller, more authentic voice. You know, they wanted to see something different on screen, and we could, you know, fit into that niche.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned you just mentioned producers, and you're also a producer. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, well, not much of a producer, really.
People, when we said that you were coming on the show, people were like, "What's she producing? What's she creating?" That's what people
What's
are.
she creating? You know what? I wish I was braver and doing more in that direction, but I have to say it's been busy, and I love acting. So it's a hard sort of. I love working, but I'm getting to a certain point where I don't have to do it all the time. I don't have to do every single thing. I don't have to do it 24/7. Like, I can see friends and plant a garden and, you know, do other things, which is kind of nice. So I mean, would I like to? Yeah, it all seems appealing, and maybe, you know, but there's been a certain time where it's just been enough. Like, to work how I've been working, and jobs just keep coming. So you think, you know what, when I'm not working, I'm going to, but it's not like, it's just, you know, lots of work.
You're producing
when you were, you're producing
I'm producing my children. Exactly. I'm their producer.
That's right.
Full time.
I guess I was asking you when you were doing it, because people always tell me that they want me to direct, and I have zero desire to do that, to a point where I can't even express, like, zero desire. And I love that there's this, not new generation, but there's a generation of people that have come up with, I think, like, have iPhones in their hands, so they can produce and direct and create all parts of their own content.
They have to, everybody.
I can't relate to that. I was the actress that got a call, and I went and auditioned, and not to say that it's less than, I like my lane. And so I guess
that's you know what though, I'm calling BS. I'm calling BS on you, Amanda Brugel, because you're working on something that's your own right now. And I guarantee that if somebody said, you can have a director like this, or you can direct it, you'll be like, my vision is so clear. I don't know. I bet you'd rather direct
writing. Writing,
yeah,
I can write. I still think of myself writer first, actor second, but directing or being in charge, it's just so many parts of it's not creative enough for me, and it's too much responsibility, and it's just I'm not interested in it. So the reason that's why that.
Oh yeah, sorry, you go, Brooks.
No, I was just saying that, Wendy, the reason I brought up producing is because I wanted to have an honest answer of like, did you like that experience, or was it fun that you did it, but you're good? Like you don't.
Yeah, I'm good, but I can see how it could be.
Okay.
If I got attached to something that somebody else was doing a lot of the work on, and I was just there going, gosh, I agree with you. That's a great idea. That would be, I could do that. I like the idea of putting your support behind up and coming filmmakers. That I like.